Hey, it's Natalie Barnes here from Beyond the Reef Patterns. Welcome back to Stitch. I couldn't help it. I was reading a little bit of How to Catch a Frog by Heather Ross. We're working with Kinder Fabrics by Heather Ross for Windham Fabrics, and since there's a frog in it, I thought I would go back and read some of the chapters in this book that I got from her, One Market. You know, she's got a new book out called Boys, the Illustrated Field Guide. I just ordered it. I think it's going to come in handy. In the meantime, let's talk about this project behind me here. This is going to be a really easy project for you to do with young sewers, young makers. If you've got kids or if you've got grandkids, it's going to be a simple project for them to do. This is a nice big chunky print, and of course it's showing off all of Heather's illustrations. They are fabulous. I just love each and every one of these prints. But we're going to rely heavily on value because the prints are so big. The pieces are big. I think you'll be able to see all of her lovely work. We're going to separate these into lights. There's that frog. Oh my gosh, so cute. And even the feature fabric. I'd like you to cut that up for the background. I did a secondary pattern with some pinks, putting those in the corner, and then of course when you join those blocks it creates this secondary pattern here. Very subtle, but I think you can see it. You can choose any color you like, but you'll need at least 3 or 4 of those. And then finally, all of these darks here we're going to use to create that pattern. I think you'll see there are some really great ones. Oh my gosh, look at these. The frogs even come in a blue. So I'm going to press these, I'm going to take them to the cutting mat, and we're going to get started. While we're cutting fabric, I want to remind you that you'll find a link to this free pattern in the description box below. You'll also find a link to windhamfabrics.com where you'll be able to search for a quilt shop near you that's carrying this very fabric. And we'd just be tickled if you'd hit that subscribe button too. Okay, we're back from cutting all of our squares. I've chosen my 4 prints for the 9.5-inch square centers of these blocks, and the rest I've cut into those 3.5-inch squares. I've sorted them according to color, so I've got all of my pinks here for those outside corner blocks. I've got what we're using as our dark and contrasting, and I've got our lights all ready to go. We're going to make simple 9 patches, and then we're going to put those 9 patches together into a giant 9-patch block. That block is going to finish at 27 inches. So if you're working with your kids or grandkids, this is a great lesson in math, right? Because you have 3 inches, 9 inches, you have 9 patches, and what's 3 times 3? I know, if it doesn't involve a 1/4 inch, I can't do the math, but it's going to be a simple project. So here we go. One of the most commonly asked questions I get is just this: why do you always wear so much black? And the answer is really quite simple. I always have a portable design wall with me. So when we're looking at making these 9 patches, I'm going to select these different patterns. Now these 2 I don't want to be so close, so I'm going to do this. And we're going to make this sort of diamond with our 3.5 inches. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in with the background fabrics. And just like that, we're going to have the first of our 2, I'm going to use some of these. Lovely little. We're going to have the first of our 2 different 9-patch blocks. This one is going to rely on these darks and lights. The other one is going to be the pinks in the corners. So as you know, I sew in columns, not rows. So I'm just going to stack these once I have a pleasing layout. 1, 2, and 3. And then I'm merely going to sew these in columns. If you are not doing this with the kids and you want to do something really quickly, you can chain piece these to your heart's desire. Just put in a little favorite music and jam away. I am working today on the Singer Featherweight Big Brother called the 301A. Let me just do this. We're going to have our header here, and I'm going to sew away the first 2 columns, 1, 2, and 3. And then we're going to add the second column, and that is all it takes to make the 9 patch. So I want to show you this column thing one more time. I know that in previous episodes we've talked about this. And then I'm going to put my footer in here. It's going to save on thread, and I know because you all love your Aurifil thread so much, it's always good to keep it on the bobbin instead of in the trash can. I'm just going to finger press these, and I'm going to finger press towards the dark side, not because I'm a big dark and light fan of the movies. Was that Star Wars or Star Trek? Oh, that was Star Wars. Okay, I know, extra when you have your design wall. But I'm going to press to the dark side because that's going to lay the dark fabric over the light fabric or the background fabric, so it's going to look like it's sitting on top of it. When you fold all of that fabric underneath, you'll see one is really riding on top and one is behind it, and that is your feature fabric and your background fabric. So for this, and because they're 9 patches, I'm going to do it that way. Let me put the second, or the third column, rather, not the second column, but the third column on this. You see where my foot pedal is here. It's got a little bit different foot pedal on this old newer machine. Uh-oh, that's a bad sign. Everything just stopped. Bad sign. Let me try again. Well, shoot. Oh, there it goes again. Magic. Don't know what that was. That was not a trick that I intended. But, you know, sometimes older machines, sometimes where you put your foot on the foot pedal. I wanted to show this to you so that you can see I did not cut this apart. Everything stays together. And once I'm done with this, I have my 9 patch pretty much all sewn together. All I need to do is flip this down, nestle those seams. We're going to have one go one way, one go the other, as you can see, and sew these rows together. So once the columns are built, then we just sew the rows. Wasn't that weird for the machine to just stop like that? I have no idea. Maybe it was camera shy. I don't know. But once you've got a good nestle on these seams, you're going to be set. I'm not going to do the whole 9 patch because I think you get the gist of it here. But you have some perfectly nestled seams right there. Great points, I think you can see. And you know the old saying, never rip a seam when you're mad at yourself for sewing it that way. So if your seams aren't matching, your points aren't matching, take a deep breath before you rip it apart, because you know you don't want to just pull on it like this. So this is one of the types of the 9 patches that we're doing, which is this layout right here, and you can see that these are top and bottom, left and right, with these sort of diamonds. The other option for the 9 patch is doing the pinks in the corners and then the dark in the inside corner, I guess you would call it, and these are going to go right here. Did I get that right? Yeah, right there. So you can see this is going to make that point, the same point that's in this small block, we're going to make in the actual large block itself. So once those are done, then really all you've got to do is the same exact thing that you did when you sewed your 9 patch together, except for you're sewing these 9 patch blocks into the big 27.5-inch finished block. So as an example, you are just going to sew these together in columns. Can you see that? Let me try it here. 1, 2, 3, all the way down. And the same way that you did your 9 patch, the little 9 patch, you're going to put 2 right sides together, not taking these apart, but keeping them sewn together, and you're going to sew down that seam. Once you've done that twice, what you'll find is that you've got a quick 27.5-inch square. And if you make this a 9 patch rather than a 4 patch, It's really going to be a math lesson for whatever child or grandchild that you sew with. One other thing I wanted to chat with you about, and that is the fact that while I was cutting, the mailman brought my book. Yes, Boys, an illustrated field guide. So until next time, thanks for joining us here at Stitch. I think I'm going to do a little research.